Today we're playing with magnetos. This is a Fairbanks Morse type FMJ 2B6D, if you can see it right here. FMJ is the style of magneto. 2B is meaning it's a two-cylinder. B is a flange mount instead of a base mount. 6 is can't remember what the 6 means. D meaning that it is for a deer. It's for a 1938 John Deere Model D, and unfortunately, it is frozen. The rotor does not turn. The impulse turns, but the rotor does not. So I'm going to pop the cap off and see what it looks like inside. So you can't see it because I've already got aluminum foil over the cap, but there's 4 screws that hold the cap on. I got 3 of them out, but this one right here is stuck and I don't want to twist it off. As well, these 2 screws that go down through the top that hold the coil in place inside there, they're also stuck. So I'm going to use a little bit of heat to heat up the aluminum housing right here, hopefully expand that, and then I can get these screws out. I just put the aluminum foil on here because I want to keep flame from hitting the cap, which is made of like a hard phenolic type plastic, and I want to try to keep from charring that. Okay, well that's still hot. Let's pull this off. Let's spray some WD-40 down in there. One in there. Get my screwdriver. See if we can break this one loose. Yeah. Got it. There's that one. Now, that one's broken loose. Now let's try this other one. Down in here. Let's see if we can get this. Oh boy, nope. Oh, that's gonna have to soak. But I can get this one out for now. And there's the inside. There's the inside. You can see down in there it's quite corroded, a lot of corrosion. Okay, I'll keep on working. But now that the good thing is now that I got the cap off and I didn't do too much damage to it, didn't char or anything like that. I think I minimized that. Now I can go ahead and I can squirt some WD-40 up in here, and I can work at getting these 2 screws out that hold the coil in. So this is pretty corroded down in here, and I got this screw out, but I need to take this rotor off, but it is solid on there, and I don't want to pry on it too much because it's made of this brittle hard plastic, and these are expensive if they break, and I'd like to be able to reuse as much of this as possible. I can already tell the points here. I'm going to need new points. It's pretty corroded down in here, but anyway, I want to try to take this apart as carefully as possible, and so to do that, I'm going to try to take 2 screwdrivers and just pry under the rotor on both sides of it. I'm probably just going to use this capacitor or condenser, whatever you want to call it, and then the points here as my fulcrum. But I just got to be careful not to break that. Dang, that is stuck on there. But I gotta get it off, so I mean, if I break it, then I break it. I'll buy a new one. I can't do anything with it still on there. Man, that is solid. Jeez. Let me go get a little beefier, longer screwdriver. Just a minute. Okay, I've got some bigger screwdrivers here. Man. Oh, jeez. Dude, I don't know what to do about that. I might just have to break that off. Dang it. So I have a helper. This is the first time I've ever had help working on a Magneto in my house. Typically, everybody is not at all interested in what I'm doing. But anyway, I broke the points away. I still can't get this rotor off. I took the capacitor off, even though they're kind of like hidden behind this behind that rotor. It's hard to see down in there. I was able to remove everything there, and I got these 4 screws that hold this. There's this base plate that kind of holds a bushing in place right here that supports the far end of the shaft. What is it, Perry? You want to see? Okay, here. She wants to help. Anyway, I got all that removed. I still can't get this off, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move on with removing the whole shaft out of the middle of the Magneto. I removed there's a nut that's on the back that holds this in place, that holds this impulse drive in place. Now I've just got to remove the impulse mechanism down here. This is on a tapered shaft and it's pressed on there on these Magnetos, and so they are hard to get off. So you got to use a flywheel puller and sometimes even some heat to pop all that off. So let's work at that now. Should we do that, Perry? Okay. So everything on this Magneto cleaned up pretty well. There's quite a bit of corrosion down inside, but I've got it cleaned up pretty well and everything spins freely. Anyway, the bad news is that as I was doing this, this rotor, which you can see is broken to pieces, it was fused onto the end of this shaft so tightly that I couldn't get it off. So the only way I could get it off was I had to break it to pieces. So that's too bad because these are hard to get. This is an older style rotor and they're expensive. And usually what you do rather than using this old style rotor is you upgrade the cap and the rotor to a newer style. But I don't want to do that. I just want to see if I can get this thing to run. And so I am actually going to use some epoxy and bond this back together.
What is this epoxy?
Yep, that's the epoxy, Ren. Yep, there it is. So that's what I'm going to use. Hi. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to try to bond this back together. The catch is it's not just piecing it together, is it has to be timed properly around this hub that fits on here, and it's keyed right here. Oops, it's keyed right here to the shaft. So it has to be timed properly. Luckily, as I was looking at this, there's one piece. Which piece is it? One of these pieces, I think it's this one little piece right here. You can see a tiny bit of where it used to be. Oh, right here. So right here, if you can see that, that fits inside of that groove, just like that. So I'm going to have to try to time everything using this as my only witness mark. I don't know if this is going to work, but I figure it's worth a shot. This rotor actually came back together a lot better than I was expecting. You can probably see a little bit where it was cracked, but for the most part, it fit together really well. And then after I bonded it together with epoxy, I put a piece of sandpaper down here on the top of my vise, this flat area on my vise, and I just basically moved it around like that and got it so it was nice and flat and smooth. And so I think that'll actually work out really well. And this saved me, like I say, this rotor itself was like 80 bucks used, or to buy a new rotor and a new cap was like $160. So really saved myself quite a bit of money here, and I think that this will work just fine. I want to turn my attention to this cap. So this is an old cap, but it's actually in pretty decent shape. There's a little bit of cracking down here at the bottom, but it's not too bad. The main problem with the cap is these little graphite contacts. They're supposed to move up and down freely, like this middle one. See this middle one? How it just moves up and down, and it has to do that so it rides on the rotor properly. Well, the problem with these ones out here, this one I've removed already, but this one right here is, it was fused, it was seized, it didn't move up and down. I sprayed it with some WD-40 and I actually got it to push down in, but now it won't pop back out. So I need to replace those. Luckily, I have this old parts Magneto cap from a different style of Fairbanks Morse Magneto. However, these little graphite contacts, they move up and down okay, and there were 4 of them. So what I did is I robbed 2 of them right here, and you can see they're on these little springs right here. So I robbed these 2, and now I'm just going to put them right here in the place of these 2 that were seized. So I broke this one out, just drilled it out and kind of pulled it out, and now I'm going to do the same to this one. And then I'm going to pop those 2 new / used graphite contacts in place. I'll show you what I mean. Graphite's hard, but it's also really brittle. So you can kind of drill it and then use a little punch to break it out. It takes a minute, but I'll get it. Okay, now we can pry it out. The old broken piece and the spring. Perfect. There it is. Now, I'll just clean that surface up in there, make sure that we have good conductivity, and I'll put in these new little contacts. So I've got my old Simpson 260 multimeter fired up. This is an older analog multimeter, but it works well. I've got it set to resistance down here, and if I touch my 2 leads together, my needle moves over. I'm going to use this multimeter to check continuity between these graphite contacts right here and the terminals out here where the spark plug wires connect. So first, I'm just going to take this old spark plug wire and insert it right here into what I'm calling terminal number 1. Now, hold one lead on this, and this is a solid core wire. Hold one lead on that, and then the other lead will touch down here. See the needle move? Got good continuity there. Now, let's check the other one. Got my wire switched over. holding here. My other lead. Let's go down in here. There's that graphite. There we go. Good conductivity, good continuity. Okay, now let's just also check continuity between this graphite contact that rides on the center of the rotor, and up here this brass post that touches the coil. So follow the same process. Right here, hold that there. Hold this down here. Okay, there we go. That's good. So that's a quick, easy way to use a multimeter, whether it's analog like this one or a digital multimeter. Either one works, but you can use that to check the cap of a magneto like this. So as you can see here, I bought a new kit with new points and a new condenser. It is a really nice kit. It looks like it's well made, and yeah, I think it'll work well. It came with some nice gaskets, even some new screws to hold the cap in place, and even a little bit of grease for the cam here. So anyway, I'm gonna slam those points and the condenser in place, and put this together and see if we got spark. Okay, I got the points installed, the condenser installed. This is a newer coil. It's hooked up. Everything's hooked up. I lubed up the cam here. We've got a new wiper there, and then here I set the points. It said these instructions right here that came with everything said to set the points 20 thousandths. That's a little more than I typically would have guessed, so I set them to 18 thousandths. So we'll see, but that should work out okay. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put the rotor back on. Oh, come on. Rotor fits nice and snug, and then put the cap on, and let's go mount it up in the magneto tester. I got a magneto loaded up in my magneto tester, and I've got the spark plug wires hooked up to these two terminals. So before I turn it on, I'm just going to roll it over by hand and see if we get spark at either one of these two spark gaps. Perfect. Okay, so the impulse is working. That's good. Okay, now I will hook it up and turn it on. Well, it's already hooked up. Now I'm just going to turn it on. I'm going to speed it up a little bit and flip it on. That's good. It missed twice already, but now it seems to be pretty steady, and it's not missing right now. I probably just jinxed myself, but you can hear that rhythmic snapping, even though you might not be able to see it on the camera. You can hear the rhythmic snapping, and you can tell that we've got good solid spark at both of those 2 points. That's really good. You know, this really was a labor of love to bring this magneto back to life. It was so corroded on the inside, and it was so frozen up. And I had to, you know, that rotor, I broke that rotor to get it off, and then I had to bond everything back together. So I'm really pleased that this is all working so well. This is great. I'm really pleased that I was able to get this working again. And it'll really go a long way getting that 1938 John Deere Model G that it came off of. It'll go a long way in getting that thing up and running again. So that's great. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. The magneto videos may not be as exciting to everybody, but I sure do enjoy working on them. And so I'll post videos, as many videos as I can of me working on these, especially these ones that were really in rough shape.
because I think anybody can replace a set of points in a condenser, but when you have to really dig into everything and clean all the corrosion out of everything, and that's when it gets to be more interesting, and so it's a little bit more of a challenge. So, like I said, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll post more videos in the future.